So reports is coming out of Cleveland that Kevin Stefanski allegedly did sabotage Shedeur, and now he want nothing to do with the Browns after Shedeur Sanders pretty much made him the laughingstock of the National Football League. Guys, for this one here, we got to go all the way up to Cleveland. Let's get it. Let's go.
Kevin Stefanski clapped back this morning saying he's not trying to sabotage Shedeur. Tyler Huntley was released yesterday, Ocho. You know you're going to waive Tyler Huntley. So what good did that 2-minute drive do for him? Doesn't it seem it would have been more beneficial for Shedeur to get the 2-minute drill, because that's a situation that he might find himself in during the regular season if something were to happen to the quarterbacks in front of him, right, as opposed to Snoop Huntley?
Absolutely. But one thing we don't know is we don't know how that coach staff is thinking. They saw fit.
So, reports is coming out of Cleveland that Kevin Stefanski allegedly did sabotage Shedeur, and now he want nothing to do with the Browns, after Shedeur Sanders pretty much made him the laughingstock of the National Football League. Guys, for this one here, we gotta go all the way up to Cleveland. Let's get it. Let's go. So, don't skip a single second of this video, and if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. This isn't a rumor to me. This isn't some little sources say whisper floating around Cleveland like it's gossip at a barber shop. Nah, this feels like a reckoning, because the second you name a rookie QB1, especially a rookie they spent months treating like he wasn't even in the real conversation, you don't just make a football decision. You light a match under the entire building. And I'm telling you right now, if you've been watching this situation the whole time, none of this feels random. It feels like the inevitable snapback from a franchise that's been trying to control the story instead of controlling the results. Because we've all seen it. We've all felt it. That weird energy. Vibe. The pauses and pressers, the careful wording. The way certain people talked, like the depth chart was carved in stone before the kid even got a real shot. So, when I hear Stefanski might want out after this QB1 announcement, my first thought is, the pressure finally hit the ceiling. Because imagine being the face of the coaching staff while a rookie comes in and exposes everybody's decisions, exposes the politics, exposes the pecking order, exposes the whole "we know better than you" attitude. And once that happens, you can't put it back in the box. That's the part people don't get. Once the truth is on tape, it's over. Once the truth is on tape, it's over. Once the truth is on tape, you don't get to erase it with a quote, or a narrative, or a friendly media segment trying to smooth it over. Fans might argue, analysts might spin, but tape don't lie. And the wildest part is how fast it flipped. We're not talking about a second-year guy who earned it over time. We're talking about a rookie, one that people doubted loud, walking in and changing the power structure. That's rare. That's dangerous. Because when a rookie wins that battle, somebody above him loses something. Status, control, credibility. And in the NFL, people will protect those things, like it's their life. So, yeah, QB1 isn't just a label. QB1 is a point of no return. Because now, every decision before this gets put under a microscope. Every time he didn't get reps. Every time he got pulled. Every time the plan looked weird. And now it's not just about wins and losses. It's about reputations, careers, legacies. So now the question isn't whether he's ready. It's who's ready to deal with what he just exposed. He didn't rise out of nowhere. He was buried there on purpose. And that's the part people keep skipping past. This quarterback didn't come in as the shiny favorite. He came in as the afterthought. The clipboard guy. The one who had to hear all summer about draft slots, depth charts, and how things were supposed to go. And somehow, some way, he flipped all of it. Because when you really look at this climb from buried on the depth chart to QB1, it doesn't feel like a miracle. It feels like inevitability. It feels like what always happens when preparation finally meets opportunity. Same arm, same poise, same confidence. The only thing that changed was the opportunity. Think about it. In practice, reps are controlled, scripts are controlled, situations are controlled. And if you're lower on the depth chart, you're not throwing with the same urgency, the same freedom, the same stakes. But the moment the lights came on, real drives, real pressure, real defenders, that's when everything separated. That's when the conversation shifted from potential to production. And the tape told the story loud. Quick processing, ball placement that jumps off the screen, calm feet in chaos. You don't fake that. You don't luck into that. We've seen this before. Think Jalen Hurts early on. Think Dak when he got his shot. The league loves to tell you who's ready based on draft position. But football has never worked like that. Performance always catches up. Draft slot versus results. Narrative versus reality. They wanted to believe one thing, but the field kept saying another. And fans who were actually watching, we weren't shocked. We were just waiting. Waiting for the moment they couldn't deny it anymore. Waiting for the moment where pretending became impossible. That's why naming him QB1 wasn't some generous move. It wasn't development paying off. It was surrender. It was the organization realizing the truth had gone public. Once that tape circulated, once the locker room felt it, once the results stacked up, the decision made itself. You either lean into it or you get dragged by it. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. When a quarterback rises this fast, it doesn't just inspire belief. It disrupts order. It exposes decisions. It threatens people who were comfortable with how things were supposed to go. And when someone rises this fast, somebody always feels threatened. The pushback always comes right on time, every single time. The moment a quarterback starts winning arguments on the field instead of in meeting rooms, the tone shifts, the language changes. Funny how the story changes once the results are undeniable. Because, let's be real, this didn't just happen overnight. Before the breakout, the talk was cautious, measured, almost dismissive. Everything was framed in a way that kept expectations low and control high. And fans noticed. We noticed how the praise was always conditional, how the criticism was always louder than the optimism, how the leash felt shorter than it ever should have been. Then the game started telling a different story. And that's when the system did what systems always do. It protected itself. Suddenly, success wasn't organic anymore. It was extra meetings, extra film, extra guidance. Credit started getting reassigned in real time. The same people who questioned his readiness were now positioning themselves as architects of his rise. That's not accountability, that's damage control. This isn't about villains twirling mustaches. It's about institutions hating to admit they were wrong. Because admitting you misjudged a quarterback means admitting the hierarchy failed. It means draft position didn't matter as much as you said. It means the reps maybe should have come sooner. And that's uncomfortable for people whose power lives in being perceived as right. So, instead of owning it, the narrative bends. Retroactive development, selective memory. And if you weren't paying attention early, you might buy it. But fans who watched every snap, every press conference, every subtle decision, we saw the double standard. We saw how quickly skepticism turned into celebration without a single apology attached. And that's where the frustration lives. Not in the criticism itself. Criticism is part of football. It's in how quickly the goalposts move once the quarterback starts winning, once the production stacks up, once the excuses run out. But here's the thing. All that noise, it fades. The talking points rotate. The credit games stop mattering. Because football has a way of simplifying everything. When the dust settles, only one thing remains undeniable. The truth isn't in the press release, it isn't in the spin, it isn't in who gets credit after the fact. The truth is on the field. This is the part of the story where everything flips. Because once you strip away the noise, the politics, the narratives, what you're left with is the reason this kid won anyway. Not hype, not draft grades, not favoritism, but traits. The stuff that survives pressure. You can see it the moment things get tight. Third down, pocket shrinking, crowd buzzing. His feet don't speed up, his eyes don't drop. He doesn't panic. That calm, that's not coached. That's who he is. Confidence under pressure isn't something you install in a quarterback. It's something you either have or you don't. And he's had it at every level. Watch how he carries himself in the huddle. No wasted motion. No forced rah-rah stuff. Just command. Teammates lean in when he talks. Linemen fight harder for him. Receivers finish routes because they expect the ball. That's how you know. Players don't need a depth chart to tell them who the guy is. They feel it. And that's why all the debate feels pointless now. Coaches can argue scheme. Media can argue timelines. Executives can argue process. But once the locker room knows, it's over. Football is still the most honest sport in the building. You either give guys belief or you don't. And he's giving it to them in real time. What makes this even crazier is the path he took to get here. He didn't come in protected. He didn't come in anointed. He came in challenged, questioned, forced to wait, forced to prove it every single time the ball was in his hands. And instead of breaking him, that pressure sharpened him. That's how you spot the real ones. Adversity doesn't scare them. It fuels them. Every rep he didn't get, logged. Every doubt thrown his way, stored. Every moment he had to sit and watch, processed. So when the door finally cracked open, he didn't rush through it. He kicked it off the hinges. And that's why this feels irreversible. You don't go back once you've seen this level of poise. You don't unsee leadership. You don't accidentally stumble into control of a locker room. This wasn't luck catching fire. This was preparation waiting for the clock to hit zero. Because when a player survives the system meant to test him, he comes out unstoppable. This is where the fallout really starts, because moments like this don't fade, they echo. Years from now, people are going to look back and say this was the turning point, not just for a season, not just for a coach, but for how this franchise understood itself. This was the moment the truth stopped being theoretical and started being permanent. And I'll say it plainly, he's not giving that job back. Quarterbacks who seize a moment like this don't loosen their grip. Not when the locker room believes. Not when the tape backs it up. Not when the game slows down the way it has for him. You don't stumble into that level of command and then quietly hand it over because a narrative says you should. That's not how this works. What will keep changing, though, is the conversation around him. You're already seeing it. Takes flipping, language softening, people who were loud with doubt suddenly speaking in hindsight like they saw it coming. That's how it always goes. The louder the miss early, the quieter the accountability later. But that's why receipts matter. Not to dunk on people, but to remember who actually trusted the process and who just trusted the order. And if you're one of the fans who stood 10 toes down when it wasn't popular, this moment is for you. If you watched the tape instead of the draft slot, if you trusted what you saw instead of what you were told, if you felt the energy before the headlines caught up, you earned this. Because belief isn't easy when the noise is loud, and the pressure is constant, and everyone's telling you to wait your turn. This isn't just his win. It's a reminder of why fans care in the first place, why patience matters, why context matters, why football, at its core, still rewards preparation and courage over convenience and control. This feels bigger than one depth chart. It feels like a line in the sand. From here on out, everything is different. Expectations shift, accountability sharpens, the margin for excuses disappears. And that's a good thing. That's how real eras begin. They can debate the past all they want. They can argue who deserves credit. They can rewrite the story 100 different ways. The future already chose its quarterback.